Client administration. What is client? Did you remember when we try to log in into the system, it is asking a few things. See, how to log in into the system? How you log in into the system? Anyone? By using MMC or logon pad?
After running of MMC controls.
Okay, logon pad. MMC is for
through logon pad.
Through logon pad only you log in, right? Okay, go to logon pad and say select your system. You will have number of systems there, the list of systems. Here we have only one system, so it is showing only one system. Okay, then it is asking you 4 credentials. What are they? Client, user ID, password and the language. Client, user ID, password and the language. What is this client? I am the user of 000 client, so I am going with 000 here. 000. The username is SAP star. The password is basis123. Without giving client number, can you log in into the system? No, it won't allow you. See, if you observe here, through which client you logged in, SAP star user 000 client. So 000 is a basic requirement. The client, not 000. The client is a basic requirement to log in into the system. That means every user will have his own client. If you are the user of 000 client, if you try to log in into 001 client, will it allow you? You are MBA student. You are entering into MCA class. Will they allow you? No. So every user belongs to his own client. Every client, users are what? Client dependent, remember. So whenever I am creating a user, I should mention a client also. This user belongs to this client, so that he can only log in into that particular client with that user ID and password. What is client exactly? So you know somewhat the general definition of client. We have seen that client server architecture, right? What is client server architecture? What is server there? The PC with the highest hardware configuration is called as server. What is client? The PC with the lowest hardware configuration is called as client. Through client systems we connect to the server. All our systems are clients only. Client is what exactly in technical terms? Who is requesting something? You are requesting www.gmail.com. So your system is called as client. Where the Gmail application is installed, that is called as a server. Gmail database is there. That is one client. Another client, if some of your friend is working in organization and you are working in organization, you will work for a client. What is that meaning? Who is giving you work is called as a client, right? This is general terms of client. But client in SAP is entirely different. Remove, if you have any idea about client, remove everything. Shift delete from your brain. This client is entirely different. See, what is client exactly? Client is an area in a system with some data on which a user can access the tables of the database. Client is a logical entity. What is the meaning of logical? Logical means it's not physical. It's not physical. That is what we call as logical. So client is an area in a system with some data. That means every client will have some data on which a user can access the tables of the database. That means clients resides where? In a database. By looking at this definition, we can understand client resides in database. It will have some data. Users will access that tables of the database. In database we have tables only, that's why access the tables of the database. No idea, right? Somewhat confusing. I'll give you a clarity. I'll give you an example now. By looking at that example, you'll find out exactly. For example, you have a hard disk with you. What is the size of hard disk? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
No. You have a hard disk of 200 GB. Okay? In your hard disk, you'll have different drives, right? C drive, D drive, E drive,
E
F
drive.
drive. Okay.
Yep.
For each and every drive, I'll give 50 GB space. For 50 GB, I'll create a separate drive. Okay. In C drive, I have Windows. In D drive, I have songs. E drive, movies. F drive, software. What I am doing here, I am isolating the data. Isolation means separation. I am separating Windows content one place, and songs at one place, movies at one place, software is one place. Why I am creating drives here? To isolate my data, right? In one drive I'll save movies, one drive I'll save songs, one drive I'll save software. That is a separation. That is the reason I'm creating. Okay, tell me one thing. If you purchase 8 GB pen drive, if you purchase 8 GB pen drive, how much storage space you will get? 8 GB out of 8 GB or 7.2 something?
Some
7.2
7
something.
point something.
Yeah, right.
change.
Right. The same thing, when you purchase 200 GB hard disk, will you get 200 out of 200?
No.
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 But sir.
That is one point, right? If I want to access movies, which drive I need to log in?
E drive.
If I want songs,
D drive.
can I access software by logging into C drive?
No, sir.
No. So this data, these movies, songs, software, Windows are drive dependent or independent?
Drive
Dependent.
Dependent.
This data is dependent. See here, physically, who is that? Please mute. Madhu. Thank you. So, physically, how many hard disks I have here? Physical hard disks. Only one. Right?
One.
When I am creating drives in the hard disk, am I cutting my hard disk into 4 different parts, or just I am creating some logical partitions within the hard disk?
Logical
Partition.
partition.
Logical partition. I'm not cutting my hard disk into 4 different units, right? Just within the hard disk, I'm creating some logical boundaries, right? That logical boundary. Can anyone tell me the definition of drive? No. Drive is a logical. Drive is a area in a system with some data. Every drive will have some data, right? On which a user can access the files of the hard disk drive. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Drive is a logical entity, I am saying. It's not a physical one actually. It is just creating some logical partition in the hard disk. Why we are using drive? To isolate the data, to separate the data. Okay. Now 200 out of 200 I won't get, right? I'll get 192 GB around that. Then 48 GB, 48 GB, 48 GB, 48 GB. Then 8 GB is going. Where that 8 GB is going? That is my question. When you purchase your 8 GB printer, you are getting 7.2. When you are purchasing 200 GB hard disk, you are getting 192 GB only. 8 GB is missing. Where that 8 GB is going? So that 8 GB contains internal programming, internal functionalities. To function your hard disk properly, that internal programming is mandatory thing there. It will be installed there, pre-installed software will be there. Without that software, your hard disk will not function properly. So hard disk is what actually appliance. What is the meaning of appliance? Home appliances. You say home appliances. What are the home appliances? Refrigerator, washing machine.
Washing machine.
Needs.
Yeah. What are why I'm calling it as a appliances? Geyser, microwave, your OTG, all these are home appliances. What is that meaning exactly? Appliance, which will contain hardware plus software in that. That is called as a appliance. So your refrigerator will have some software in that, right? According to that only it is working. Your washing machine also, it is having the display there, So many functionalities there. The software, pre-built software is there, and the hardware is there. The combination of hardware and software will be there if you purchase a appliance. That's why we call it as home appliances. So hard disk also just like that. It will have hardware component as well as a software component in that. That 8 GB is having internal programming. Okay. Without that internal programming, will your hard disk work properly? Function properly? No. Right?
No.
Now, songs are dependent or independent data? Songs dependent data or independent data?
Dependent.
Dependent. So, these songs are dependent of D drive. Software is dependent of F drive. Movies are dependent of E drive. But what about this internal programming? It is common for all the drives. Without this, your C drive won't work, D drive won't work, E drive, your hard disk won't work, right? This 8 GB is a independent data, independent of all the drives. For all the drives, it is common. This Windows, songs, movies, and software are dependent of that particular drive. So, what is the definition of hard disk? It is a logical entity, right? It is not a physical one actually. We are just creating some logical boundaries within the system, right? It is a logical entity. Drive, I'm saying the drive definition, not client. Drive is a area in a hard disk with some data on which a user can access the files of the hard disk drive, right? Got the point? What is drive exactly?
Yes.
It is a logical entity which is having some data. That data is how many types? Two types: dependent data,
Two types.
independent data.
Independent.
Drive dependent data, drive independent data. The same way, client is nothing but it is also a logical entity in your database level. In a database, you will have data. The data is two types: client dependent data, independent data. What that mean is, see, client is a area in a system with some data. The data is two types again, on which a user can access the tables of the database. That means in a database you will have some data. Okay, to access that data, you are having some different clients. If you log in with 100 client, you can access 100 clients data plus some common data. If you log in with the 200 client, you can access 200 related data and some common data will be there. If you log in with 300, you can see 300 data and you can access the common data. Can you log in with the 200 and access the 100 data? No. The same way, can you log in into D drive and you can access the software? No. Every drive has its own data and common data. Common data is what? That internal programming. Own data is what? Songs, movies, software. The same way, in a database we have data. That data is two types. One is client dependent data, client independent data. Got the point? Client also logical entity. So actually in hard disk, where your data saves? In a hard disk. Finally your data will save in the hard disk. But to access that data, you are using drive concept. Right? You separated that data by using drive concept. The same way, in a database, the data is saved in database only, in the database tables. To access the data, you are using one concept called client. If you log in with 100 client, you can access 100 client data and common data. If you log in with 200, you can access 200 data and common data. Got the point?
Yes.
See, this is my database. Okay, I have data here. For example, I have three clients: 100, okay, 200,
The
and
screen.
okay,
You know.
I'll check.
Not visible.
Wait. 100, 200, and 300. Three clients are there. I have some data: 100 dependent data, 200 dependent data, 300 dependent data and common data. If you log in with 100 now, where the data is saving in the hard disk in the database only. But if you go with 100 client, you can access 100 data plus common data. If you log in with the 200, you can access 200 data and common data. If you log in with 300, you can access 300 data and common data. If you log in into 200, you won't be able to access 100 data and 200. Got the point? This the same thing na in hard disk also. If you log in with the C drive, you can access C drive data and that common programming. If you log in with the D drive, you can access songs. In D drive, what we have, according to your example, yeah. See, if you log in with the D drive, you can access songs and common data. If you log in with the C drive, you can access Windows software plus common data. Software, common data. Movies, common data. If you log in with E drive, can you access songs by logging into E drive? No. Finally, the data is saving in the hard disk. In a database, the data is saving in the database only. But how you are accessing that data is your client. Client is nothing but your drive boss. It is not a real one. It is not. It is just a logical entity. You can say it is a gateway to access the data. If you log in with 100 client, you can access 100 client. For example, I have 3-4 departments: finance departments, account department, and HR department. Finance department data is different, HR department data is different, accounts department data is different. If 100 clients belongs to finance, if you log in with 100 client, you can access finance data plus some common data. Common data is nothing but your software. Your SAP software is common for all. Business data is dependent, but software is common for all. The same way, if you log in into HR client, you can access HR business data plus software data.
Common data.
Common data. That is what client. Got the point?
Awesome.
In a database, we have two types of data. In a database, we have two types of data. One is client dependent data. Second one is client independent data. See the drive definition. See, drive is, if you see the drive definition, it will be equivalent to your client. Drive is the area in a hard disk drive with some data on which a user can access the files of the hard disk drive. It is a hard disk. That's why I'm calling it as files of the hard disk drive. If it is a database, I should call it as tables of the data. In a database, what you have? Tables. If it is a hard disk, I'm saying files. If it is a database, that is the reason I'm saying tables. That's it. In a database, we have two types of data. In a database, we have two types of data. One is client dependent data. Second one is client independent data. What is the meaning of client dependent data? Client dependent data. The data which is specific to that particular client is called as client dependent data. The data which is common for all the clients is called as cross client data or client independent data. We have how many types of data in database? Client dependent data, or you can say client specific data. Both are same. Specific means it is specific to that particular client. Client dependent data or client specific data. The second one, client independent data. Client independent data, or you can call it as cross client data. Cross client means across all the clients the data is common. Cross client data. Got the point? Client dependent data and client independent data. In a database, you have only two types of data: client dependent data, client independent data. When you have two types of data, how many types of tables you will have? If you have two types of data, how many types of tables you will have? Two types of tables: client dependent tables, client independent tables. In a database, the data is saved in the tabular format, right? So in the tables, few tables are client dependent, few tables are client independent. Client independent tables means what? Your all software content comes under that cross client tables. I'll give you one example otherwise. We'll discuss this client concept for 4 to 5 days. No worries. If you don't understand also, no worries. You'll understand slowly. Nothing to worry. When you're all ready with the client administration, then only I'll move to next topic. Don't worry for that. So see, this is one table, client dependent table. What is the meaning of client dependent table? Client specific data or cross client data? You have
Specific.
specific, right?
Specific data.
So this is one table. For example, this is some USR02 table. One table name is USR02. Hello, Karthik. ఒక్క నిమిషం ఆగండి. Okay, we have one table. For example, USR02 table. This table name is USR02. If you open that table, here we have some entries. So some field, mandate field, customer name, customer number, address, and phone number. Okay. Now, if you open this client, you logged into 100 client. The table name is what? USR02. If you open that table, even though you have 10,000 records, even though you have 10,000 records, you can see only two things. One is this user, second one is this user. That's it. It won't show you 200 clients data, 300 clients data. The same table, USR02 table only. How they are restricting this means they are using one thing called mandate, M-A-N-D-T, mandate as a first field. If you have mandate as a first field in any table, if you open any table, if you find mandate as a first field, that is a client dependent table. The data is client dependent data. See, if you see another table, it will be like this. That means this is a cross client data. If you log in with 100 client, 200 client, 300 client, it can be this table, entire table you can access. The only point is this mandate. How beautifully they segregated these two types of data by having only single word called mandate. Mandate is a German word, mandate. It comes from mandate. Mandate means client. If it is a client dependent data, you will have this field. The same table, what is the table name? USR02. If you open the table by logging into 100 client, it will show you this user and this user. My cursor is visible to you, right? This
No.
Rajesh user and this Kartika user. Only you can see these two users. If you log in into 200 client, open the USR02 table, even though it will have 10,000 records, it will only show you this single record. If you log in into 300 client, if you open the same table, which is having 10,000 records, it will only show this one. Why? It is a dependent table. It will only show you that content which you have access. If you open the cross client table, then no mandate field will be there. If you open that table, you can access all the data from that table. That is your cross client table. Client dependent tables and independent tables. When you have two types of data, you will have two types of tables. How to identify the table is client dependent or independent? If you find mandate as the first field in the table, that is a client dependent table. If you don't find mandate as the first field, that is a independent table. Got it?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you please relog in one more? Log in and wait for 1 minute. I have to attend one other call. Okay. In a database, how many types of data you have? Two types: client dependent data, client independent data.
Independent.
Independent.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I have three clients, for example, 100 client. If I log in with 100 client, it will, for example, finance client. If I log in with the finance client, it will show you finance data and some common data. If I log in with MM client, it will show you MM data and some common data, software related group. If I log in with HR client, it will show me HR content as well as the common data. The same way how you log in into the C drive, it will show you Windows and common data, D drive songs and common data. So in a database, we have two types of data. When you have two types of data, you'll have two types of tables. One table is client dependent table. Second one is client independent table. No problem with client independent table. Okay, if you open this client independent table, any table, for example, you have 500 tables related to software. All are client independent tables. If you open any client, you can access all the data. If you log in with 100 client, you can access the data 200, 300, 400, whatever the client. You log in and you can access this common data. This data is common. Client independent tables are common, is having common data. Client dependent tables will have specific data. For example, there is one table called USR02 table. All users are residing in that. 100 client users, 200 client users, 300 client users, and 400 client users. All users only resides in USR02 table. Only one table. Then how can you differentiate? If you log in with 100 client, it should only show you 100 clients data. That is the reason. That is the reason we are creating the clients, not to isolate the data. If you log in with the D drive, you can only access songs. If you can able to access movies and software and Windows, then what is the need of separation of a software separation of a drive? The same thing is happening here. This table contains all the users data: 100 users data, 200 users data, 300 client users data. But if you open that table name from 100 client, it will only show you this record and this record. Only this is having restriction here. Only if you log in with 100 client, only show these two users. If you log in with the 200 client, it will show only this user. Even though you have 10,000 users in your system, in your table, you have 10,000 records, but it won't show you 10,000 records. Why? The 10,000 records are not belongs to you, your client. Your client only having this information in this table. That's it. Got the point? If you log in with the 300 client, it will show you only this row. Only one row it will show you. If you open USR02, one row it will show you. If you log in with the 200 client, if you open USR02, only one row it will show you. If you log in with the 100 client and open that USR02 table, it will show you two rows. If you log in with the
If
300, yeah.
lots, if lots of the people will be there with the same data, again we have a 200. Then it will be select only one, or it will be select for two?
If you have another user in 200 client, right?
Yes.
Yes. If you have 1000 users in 200 client, 1000, not one, 1000 users, it will show you that 1000 records. If you log in with the 200 client, then only. If you log in with 100 client, it won't show you this 200 related data. That is the beauty of this mandate field here. Okay.
Okay.
Again, this data is segregated into some more types of data. Overall, the data is two types: dependent data and independent data. Now we have a few things called user master data, application data, clients. In a database, you have different types of data. Overall, two types. In the two types also, you have some separation. User master data. What is the meaning of user master data? Username, their authorizations, their profiles, okay, their predefined data, their phone number, fax, everything comes under user master data. Okay. Now tell me, user master data is client dependent or independent? When you're logging into the system, you are giving the client number and the password. If you are a user of 000, can you able to log in into 001? When you are logging into
No.
the system, you are giving client number and the user ID. Then only it is logging you. That means dependent or independent data. User master data.
Depend.
Dependent. Just now we have seen that table. Na? 200 will have some users, 100 will have some users, 300 will have some users. So user master data is client dependent data. User master data is client dependent data. Okay. I'll explain one more time. Okay. Application data. Application data means business data. Application data means what? Business data. For example, you have SD client, client, 100 client is for SD users, 200 client for users, 300 client for HR users. SD business data and business data same or different? Both belongs to same company, but the data which they carry is different. SD people will look into the sales, right? People will look into the inventory. HR people will have the HR related data. The data is separate, right? So application data is dependent data or independent data?
Independent data.
Dependent data. Separate. Every client has its own business data. SD business data is different. Business both belongs to, for example, Hero Honda company is there. All the clients belongs to one company only, but the data which they carry is different. SD department, if every data is same, why you are having different departments, boss? SD people will have sales and distribution information. How many sales happened? Okay. And department, inventory. How much material you have, how much stock you have, raw material information, everything you will have in department. HR department will have all the employees data and employees payroll, employees timesheet, employees recruitment data, everything they will have. So different data, right? Headcount data, everything they will have in HR department. So application data is client dependent data. Okay. Client specific customizing data. The name itself suggesting it is a client specific customizing. Client specific means what? Dependent or independent?
Dependent.
Dependent. Client dependent customizing data. Customizing means, see, if you purchase a mobile, okay, the first thing what you do, you will have your own settings, your own wallpaper, your own ringtone, your own settings, time zone, everything you'll set, right? They will be having number of options, number of wallpapers, number of screen savers, number of ringtones, right? You have to select one from that. There will be number of options will be there. You have to set according to your requirement. That is called as a customization. Settings are called as customization. Client specific settings means it is a dependent data or independent data? Dependent.
Client dependent.
Dependent. Cross client customizing means these are also settings, but these are cross
Independent.
client, independent. That means if I do setting here, cross client customizing data, cross client customization, it will impact all the clients. For example, I have two clients. If I do cross client customization means it is a global setting. This is local. Every client has its own setting. See, this client, 100 client is having client specific customizing data, 200 also having customizing client specific customizing data. Means if I do setting in 200 client specific customizing data, it will impact that client only. If I do 100 client specific customizing data, it will impact that client only. But if I do cross client customizing data, it will impact both the clients. This is local setting. Client specific customization is local setting. Cross client customizing is global setting. And repository data means what? Programs, reports, screens, menu options, everything comes under repository data. So user master data, application data, client specific customizing data. These three are what? Client specific data are client dependent data.
Dependent data.
Cross client customizing data and repository data are what?
Independent
Cross
data.
client data are independent. Repository means your software. Your software should be common for all, right? If you have any confusion, I'll give you an example. See, there is one school. Okay, in a school we have two classes, 8th class and a 9th class. Got it? This 100 client is visible to you, right? This
Yes,
100
yes.
client is 8th class. This 200 client is 9th class. Let's take an example. If you open the register in 100 clients, pupils and 8th class pupils and 9th class pupils are same or different? 8th class
Dif-
students and 9th class students are
different.
same or different,
Different.
right? With the different
Different.
names, different user IDs, different surnames, everything is different, right? So every
Yeah.
class will have its own students, right? Application data is your syllabus. 8th class syllabus and 9th class syllabus is same. Both belongs to same
No.
school.
No.
Both belongs to same school. But the subjects are different for 8th class and 9th class, right? The syllabus is different. Okay. Client specific customizing data is just like timetable of the class. If I change 8th class timetable, 8th class first period is English, I am changing that to mathematics. Will it affect 9th class? No.
No.
Only 8th class timetable will change. Right? That is client specific customizing data. If you change that, it will only affect that particular client, not all the clients. Cross client customizing data is just like, for example, your school time is from morning 9 o'clock to evening 4 o'clock. I'm changing that school time to 9:30 to 4:30. Will it impact 8th class? School timetable? Yes. For 8th
Yes.
class and 9th class, the school timetable will change. The class timetable is client specific customizing data. School timetable is cross client customizing data. Got the point?
So.
Okay. Repository data. Repository data means your school building. Another example for cross client customizing data is Saturday, everyone should wear white dress, white uniform. Obviously, 8th class and 9th class both should wear that. Tomorrow is holiday on the account of some Rakhi. For 9th class and 10th class, 8th class and 9th class, tomorrow is a holiday. That is cost and customizing data. And repository data is your school building, your school playground, your correspondent. Everything is common for all, right? 8th class, 9th class, school building is common, and a playground is common. Everything is common, right? The rules and regulations of the school, the prayer. 8th class will pray one thing and 9th class will pray one thing, or the assembly for all one. Assembly hall is only one for all, right? The national anthem is all one only. That is repository data. See, all belongs to one school only, but every class will have their own pupil, their own syllabus, their own timetable, and the common timetable is there, and common things are there like school building, school name, and school correspondent, and school playground, and school rules and regulations, and anthem they played. Everything is same. I hope it's clear now.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
For example, uh, if you take a business, SD department is there, MM department is there. For example, 100 client belongs to SD, MM client belongs to 200. SD users and MM users are different. Who will do the sales and distribution comes under SD users. Who will do the inventory work, they'll do the MM work, right? Application data means the SD's data, business data, and MM's business data is different. They both deal with the different kind of data. Client specific customizing data. I'll give you an example. There is a bank, HDFC Bank is there. One is LB Nagar branch, second one is some Dilsung Nagar branch. If I say, if I change IFSC code of LB Nagar branch, will it impact Dilsuk Nagar branch? No.
No, Lord.
IFSC code is dependent,
No.
branch dependent IFSC code. And if I change the bank name, it will impact Dilsuk
Yes.
Nagar branch and LB Nagar branch. Branch name is
Yes.
cross client customizing data. Sorry, bank name is cross client customizing data. Branch name is client specific customizing data. IFSC code is client specific customizing data. Right?
Yes.
I hope you got it now. But after
Yes,
having
sir.
these many examples, right? Overall, we have two types
Yes,
of
sir.
data: dependent and independent. These three are
Independent.
dependent. These two are independent. See, if you observe the image, on the base of these two, all the clients are created. Two clients. For every client having its own user master data, own application data, we have two clients. Two clients has its own user master data. Two client has its own application data. Two client has its own client specific customizing data. But for these two clients, cross client customizing data and repository data both are same. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
That's it for the day. Please go through the class one more time. You'll understand somewhat better. It will confuse
Okay.
the first